How many of us would wish some sign were pulled up on social media, somebody put it on some sort of billboard, somebody would put the sign of our family of origin or an ex or a parent or a grandparent that said, all is forgiven, I am sorry, let's be in relationship once again, and maybe they have a generic name like Carlos or Mary or Paco, and you would read that sign not knowing if it's for you, but you would hope that that person would write that thing for you. And the summary of Ernest Hemingway's short story, Capital of the World. And the story takes place in Spain. And what we know is that there's a father and a son who've had some sort of schism, some sort of break in their relationship. And the son's name is Paco. And the son decides in the breakdown of the relationship that he's going to leave the family home. He's not going to stay around. And so the dad lets him go. And day 1, day 2 go by, day 3, day 4, and day 5, the dad realizes, my son is not coming home. Paco's not coming back to our house, and so he begins to search around the countryside in the country of Spain, and he's like, I am looking for my son. I need to find my son. And he ends up being in Madrid, or we have a lot of families from Spain, Madrid, and he's in Madrid, and he puts, as the last ditch effort, he puts in the local newspaper an ad, hoping that his son will hear his heart and his cry for him to return home. And he says this, Paco, meet at Hotel Montana at noon Tuesday. All is forgiven. Love, Papa. He just wants his son to come home. He just wants to reconcile. He just wants to make sure that they can move forward. He wants his lost son to come home. A couple days go by, and it's Tuesday, it's noon. The father shows up to the Hotel Montana, and he could not believe what he saw. He saw that the police were called out because there was a need for crowd control because 800 men named Paco showed up. Yeah. But 800 boys named Paco read the ad and had hoped the message was for them. 800 Pacos were just hoping to reconcile and go home. You and I are Paco. You and I, in our heart's desire, want to be home. That's why in the laughter of the story and in the heaviness of the story, realizing how many of us would wish some sign were pulled up on social media, somebody put it on some sort of billboard, somebody would put the sign of our family of origin or an ex or a parent or a grandparent that said, all is forgiven, I am sorry, let's be in relationship once again, and maybe they have a generic name like Carlos or Mary or Paco, and you would read that sign not knowing if it's for you, but you would hope that that person would write that thing for you. It's deep. It's heavy because every single one of us want to be pursued and loved and accepted and belong. And that is awesome. But we also want that in the context of family. And so there is sometimes this struggle of my family of origin and the family of God. And we all have different ways of approaching the family of God. Some of us had great families and felt very safe and loved and cared for. So it's easier for us to maybe trust others in the family of God. Some of us have very toxic backgrounds. And so we come to the family of God just wanting to forget about it all and let's move forward. And we forget that we are wired the way we're wired because of the way we grew up. Maybe in that incubation period of maturity and maturing as a kid, something happened. And that could be your physical family through DNA. It could be that you were adopted into a family, or maybe you went through the system and finally some family took you in, or maybe you went through the system and nobody took you in. All of us have a framework of family. And then we come to know God, or we come to explore God, and we talked about this last week, Ephesians 2. You find this hope. You are no longer foreigners and strangers, but fellow citizens with God's people, and also members of God's family. So what does that mean? What does that mean to be members of God's family? Because sometimes there can be an inconsistency as we try to grow with other people who want to grow in Jesus because of our own inconsistencies. Or our expectations of this new family of God aren't met because we had great expectations in our personal families. And there can be a juxtaposition, there can be a breaking, there can be an inconsistency in that, and we can find hurt in that. So I want to kind of lead us to a question. How do you respond when you lose something? Most of you say, honey, do you know where I put my stuff? As though your wife or husband are supposed to track everything for you, right? Dad, Mom, do you know where my socks are? It's so annoying when that happens. And then there are things that really matter, like you need your keys to your car, you need your wallet to go to the grocery store. There are things you need, and so when you can't find it, we inevitably, the first thing we do is we go and we run around in a very hectic way. And we go to the spots we know to go look for. We go to the kitchen area, we go to that drawer, we go to our bedroom, we go to the little, I'm this person, my wife finally got me a basket. I have a basket. And it's right there in our master bedroom, this little basket. And ever since she got me the basket, I haven't lost anything. She fixed the problem. It only took us 23 years to figure out I needed a basket. But Libby got me a basket. So I go to the basket. If it's not there, it's somebody else's fault. Right? But what happens when all of that falls apart? We inevitably have to stop. I have to stop. And what do I have to do? You teach your kids, you teach your nieces and nephews, your parents maybe taught you. I have to retrace my steps. You have to retrace them to try to find the thing you lost, the thing that is significant. And here's the problem with this. We're not talking about the AirPods anymore. We're not talking about the keys anymore. We're not talking about the wallet anymore. We're talking about your soul. And where have we lost or maybe never even had joy? Where have we lost peace, and where has it gone missing? Or maybe hope has gone MIA, and these things that really do matter, we need to retrace our steps and say, where is the source of my discontent?